Senator Hagedorn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was going to save my debate for the final because I know we're all probably getting tired. I just had a text from one individual that said he's ready to eat his shoe because he's already missed lunch. We've heard a lot of things from a lot of people. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an insurance salesman. Sitting in between two, my head wants to explode with jokes, but I can't go down that road. All I can bring to the table is my experience in the Navy and my equal experience in the private sector. And some of the things that I've read, and I've got to tell you, I've heard from a number of people today how painful of an experience this debate has been and is going to be. This is probably one of the hardest decisions that I've had to make in this legislative body. But today is much easier than the sleepless, sweat-soaked nights that I have had since the gentleman on the second floor made this decision. I have studied and tried to figure out why the heck are we going down this road? Why the heck would we want to be involved with a healthcare exchange? And I've come to the conclusion that sadly we have no choice. As much as I don't like that choice, either choice, we're there. And if I could maybe walk back with me, I'm a student of behavior and history of behavior, and that people and organizations' behavior tell me a lot of things. In 2010, the majority of this body, whether you were on this side of the rotunda or the other side of the rotunda, were the first in the nation to stand up against Obamacare. We stood tall and said we did not want to have Obamacare in this state. It was not in concert with what we wanted for our citizens. And we created and passed House Bill 391 as amended. And may I read from the sine die report of the 2010 session, Mr. President?
Senator may read.
From the sine die report, I just want to refresh everyone what that bill was about. The Idaho Health Freedom Act codifies this state policy that every person in the state of Idaho is and shall continue to be free from government compulsion in a selection of health insurance options, and that liberty is protected by the Constitution of the United States and the state of Idaho. The Act prohibits any state official or employee from enforcing any penalty that violates the policy and requires that the Attorney General seek injunctive or other appropriate relief to defend the state of Idaho and its officials and employees against laws enacted by the government that violates this policy. It was pretty clear. It was pretty plain. We didn't want to go down this road in the first place. None of us did. That passed overwhelmingly. Our Attorney General, along with 25 other Attorney Generals who joined us, we were first, who joined us to sue the federal government. And I have to take deference with some of my friends. We won a lot of that suit. The individual mandate was found to be unconstitutional. Had we not done our House resolution, had we not sued the federal government, that mandate would still be there. We won the Medicaid expansion requirement. It's not a requirement today. We won the fact that the penalties were not fees, they were taxes. And today, as mentioned by the gentleman from 2, there's over 40 court cases now pending against what currently is Obamacare, or the the Health Freedom Act. Again, being a student of behavior, I question when people come to me and say, if we say no, the feds are not going to have the money to implement a healthcare exchange in Idaho. We're going to force them. If enough of us stand up, we're going to force them out of money. If you've been around for the last 6 years, you'd recognize that we currently have a Congress and an executive branch in Washington, D.C. that care very little about budgets, care very little about where the money comes from to support their agenda. And if you believe that we have an executive branch who wears the name of Obamacare on his chest as a medal, that he will not find money to support those exchanges, and you've been living in another world. Because I guarantee you, that money will be found and those exchanges will be created, and every state that stood up thus far and said, we don't want a state exchange, the federal government has been in that state the next day, planning their routes to create that exchange. That state legislature has nothing now to do with the oversight or impact that federal exchange will have on their people. And it was at that point I realized what the gentleman on the second floor was trying to do. In my business experience, I was a vendor for a very large company in our state, in the Treasure Valley. And our company didn't treat our customer very well one time. And that customer decided to send us a message. We had well over 100 people that worked for us globally. And that customer said, you know what? We're going to cancel all of our contracts. Nothing. You guys don't get anything else until we figure out what we really need from you. We had to start laying off people. This was millions of dollars a year that we faced in loss. And actually, we did lose it. We lost it. And we easily could have said, you know, the business climate here is not healthy. We're not going to make money here. We're going to have to lay off well over 3/4 of our staff, and we're going to have to find another customer that we can do business with. But we didn't do that. We stayed in the game. There was no table for us to sit at. There was no chairs. We made the table. We made the chairs. We forced our way back in the door by working with that customer and making sure that they understood what we were going to supply to them and what they needed from us, and we worked that out. We created that environment. In 2010, when we did House Bill 391, we took offensive action. We started the ball rolling. 25 other states came with us. And now we're in a situation where the Supreme Court has made a ruling. We won quite a bit of it, but a lot of Obamacare is still left on the table. A lot of it is being challenged. And those challenges aren't going to be decided in the next 8 months. All those 40 cases are not going to be decided. Why do we have to act now? Because our choice is now. Our choice is allow the feds to come into our state unfettered, or to try and manage it and create a table of our own to help manage this abominable law that elected officials in Washington, D.C. have bestowed upon us. In 2007, it reminds me in 2007 of a football game. And I know we've got Vandals in here, and I know we've got Broncos in here. But in this particular case, our Broncos were at the Fiesta Bowl. And we started out really well. Halftime, we weren't doing so well. But in the last seconds of the game, Coach Pete directed a hook and ladder play that won the game over Oklahoma. And we were all excited about that. That put BSU and put Idaho on the map. Nobody walked out during halftime and left the field and said, you know what, it's a big game, but we're just not doing well. We probably should just leave. You don't leave. When you're facing a fight, you don't turn your back on your opponent. You stay in the fight. If you have to create a table in order for you to fight, that's what you do. And ladies and gentlemen, in 2010, we took the offense. We started the game. We took offense, and we sent the shot that all the other states came along with and said, yeah, we're not going to take this anymore. It's halftime. Are we going to stick around to have the opportunity for the hook and ladder play or the Hail Mary? Or are we going to turn our back and just say, you know what, we're just going to let the feds come in and do with us what they will, and we'll go fight another battle? I can't do that. I am so frustrated, as many of us in this room are, that Obamacare is law in the first place. And if there was something else we could do, if there was another bill coming before us that would get rid of it, I would be all over it. But we don't have that choice. It's not here. Our choice is federal or state exchange. That's our choice. I can't ride this pig if it's a federal exchange. I can ride it with spurs on if it's a state exchange, and I can make sure that when I have a question, if this state exchange is doing wrong to our people and our businesses, I can spur that pig, and I can find out. I can't do that under a federal exchange. That's where I'm going, and that's where I'm coming from. This is a fight we can't turn away from. It's a fight we can't turn our backs on. I offered up to anyone who doesn't believe a state exchange is the right way to go, I would draft a bill for them to support the federal exchange. None of us want to go down that road. But that's our choices. And we don't like any of them, but we have to select one. And I select the one that I have at least the ability to spur once in a while. So I'll be voting yes. Thank you, Mr. President.